Other actors trend on social media thanks to scandals. I trend thanks to police reports. Other actors join drama crews through auditions. I join because the director thinks I'm hiding a murder case and am here to experience life. Other actors have a persona of a cold and aloof god. I stand still, and the whole crew thinks I've stabbed someone. My agent asked me if I can stop getting locked up. The police asked me if I plan to get a monthly subscription at the station. I want to be a normal person too, but my system gave me the Jack the Ripper card, which comes with a naturally exposed, murderous aura. Until a scream comes from the prop room, the real horror is just beginning. My name is M.O. Fay, a third-rate actor. 6 days ago, I awakened a life cheat, the role-playing system. Draw cards to get skills. If you survive 7 days with a card, you can permanently keep one. Sounds great, right? Then I drew my first card. Identity, child of Buddha. Active, mastery of Buddhism, compassionate heart. Wrathful Vajra passive. All beings are equal, benevolent eyes and kind brows. Moth to a flame. Attracts malice to good people, greatly increases the chance of bad things happening around. What does it mean to pair compassionate heart with moth to a flame? Every time I go out, I encounter trouble and I have to deal with it. 6 days. I've been to the police station 4 times. During that robbery stop, if it weren't for the Iron Buddha looking out for me, I would have been stabbed in the kidney on the spot. That was my kidney, you know. Later, I beat that robber with a baseball bat while crying, not because I wanted to cry, but because my compassion attack kicked in. The guilt of I deserve to die for standing by surged through me. A handsome guy crying while beating someone. The beater more aggrieved than the beaten. The video went viral online, with everyone guessing it was a relationship dispute. The gay scene is so chaotic. It wasn't until the police report came out that my name was cleared. Thanks to my kind and benevolent face, I've been to the police station 6 times and still come out unscathed. Now I don't look like a bad guy at all when I keep my mouth shut. I look extremely amiable. Just after finishing my 4th statement today, my agent Lu Jia called. Good job. Jiang Xiaoyu's agent called. They threw you a pie. Jiang Xiaoyu is a popular young actress. I caught someone slipping a drug into her drink. I called the police and found out it was paraquat. I saved her life. It's director Wang's suspense film. The 5th male lead make good use of it. Lu Jia looked me up and down, frowned, and said, adjust your state of mind. You're there to sell your face, not to save all beings. I'm helpless too. The car can be swapped by tomorrow noon. Then this damned moth to flame state will be lifted. With a longing for a better life, I returned to my rented room in the old neighborhood. My savings were only enough for plain noodles with water. Adding a pack of pickled mustard greens counted as a treat. But once I joined Director Wang's crew, there'd be box lunches. Life is looking up. The next morning, I prayed that nothing would go wrong as I walked out of the neighborhood. Then I saw a trendy young woman and a middle-aged woman fighting over a baby stroller. Hey, handsome guy in a jacket, help me call the police. She's a kidnapper, the young woman shouted. The middle-aged woman was so flustered she could barely speak. This is my child, my own child. The 2 were at odds. More and more onlookers gathered. The middle-aged woman took out her phone to show baby photos, causing an uproar. Then a man and a woman stepped forward as concerned citizens and started taking sides. I stepped forward, pulled the baby stroller over, and held up my phone to show the call log screen. Hello, I found a child by the lamppost at number 75 Fangchao Road. 2 people claim to be the family. I can't confirm. Request assistance. That's right, I don't know who the biological mother is, but I'm sure I'm not the child's father. The dispatcher on the other end of the line was stunned for a moment. After I called the police, the young woman's emotions instantly calmed down. The middle-aged woman and that helpful couple exchanged glances. The next second, the man lunged toward the stroller. Anticipating this, I raised my hand and swung my phone, smacking it diagonally against the back of his head, near the cerebellum and brainstem, the area controlling motor coordination. With the ferocity of an angry deity backing me up, the man collapsed from the hit. I took the child, a little over a year old, who just clapped and laughed with a confused look. The 2 women turned to run, but the crowd grabbed them. The young woman cried and reached out to hug the child. I sidestepped and said, I told you, I can't confirm who the parent is yet. Wait until the police arrive. She froze for a moment and silently withdrew her hand. The police car arrived quickly. A familiar officer got out, Officer Xiao Su, who had taken my statements a few times. He grinned as soon as he saw me and said, good one. Today, you didn't end up inside, you called me out instead. I gave an awkward smile. You could blame it on the moth diving into the flame and those damn human traffickers. Officer Sue pulled out his phone. Let's exchange contacts. At this rate, it might be faster to contact me directly next time. Are you throwing shade at me? I screamed inside, but kept a smile on my face as I pulled out my phone. The moment I unlocked the screen, I froze. In the heat of the moment, I had used my phone to take a picture of the guy, and now the screen of my already aging old buddy was half cracked. My eyes instantly reddened. This phone had been with me through thick and thin, and most importantly, there were browser history records I absolutely had to wipe before getting a new phone. I caressed it with affection. We had built our bond from humble beginnings, weathering storms together. How could I abandon it just because it was a little banged up? Officer Sue's lips twitched. Clearly, the truth was I just didn't have the money to replace it, but I made it sound so poetic. But time was tight, so I added him as a friend and hailed a cab to the set. I even sent Officer Sue a voice message joking about reporting the taxi for overcharging, scaring the meter down from 1.5x speed to 0.8x. When I arrived at the set, Director Wong was a chubby middle-aged man who specialized in making popular but critically panned commercial films. This suspenseful battle royale was about a group of young people exploring a deserted village and encountering a psychopathic killer. You'll play the stoic, least talkative character in the main group. Just stand there, that's enough. Director Wong made the decision on the spot. It's your vibe. But can you not look so merciful? People might think the protagonist team added a monk in training. I glanced at the time, less than 2 hours until I could switch cards. Don't worry, director. I'll have the right attitude when filming starts. I grabbed a box lunch in the corner and flipped through the script to find my lines. Really? No way, run, it's you. That's it. This character's total lines throughout the entire film didn't even match the female lead's single monologue. They could have just dubbed a mute actor. Finally, 12 o'clock came, and I watched the Buddha card slowly fade away. Before my smile could surface, a pitch-black light coalesced. The Ripper identity. The Ripper active ability. Mastery of knife use. Mastery of human anatomy. Passive ability. Outlaw. Carries an innate killer's aura. Passive ability. Get away with it, reduced presence. Retained skill. Moth to the flame. My vision went dark a 1 in 6 chance. Why did I have to keep the moth to flame bit? I wouldn't even mind being an angry, glaring Buddha, at least that comes with full mastery of Buddhist teachings. The staff member raised a loudspeaker to call everyone together, and when he saw me, his voice stammered. Call the police. The entire crew turned to look at me in unison. I snapped back to reality, my face burning. Do I have something on my face? The staff member looked awkward. Just a moment ago, he'd clearly seen me like a venomous snake lurking in a dark, damp environment, sending chills down his spine. But now, looking again, I was just a strikingly ordinary, slightly shy young man. I slipped into the dressing room to check the mirror. Under the effect of the outlaw persona, my whole demeanor had darkened several notches. With downcast eyes and a casual, indifferent look, my mouth set in a straight line, I looked like I could slash someone at any moment. Even I was startled. Holy crap, I muttered, taking a half step back. This was a completely different person from the compassionate, radiant monk from this morning. I pulled out my phone to take a selfie in the mirror and sent it to Sister Liu and Officer Xiao Su. The former might need to bail me out, the latter might need to arrest me, better to give them a heads up just in case. But the screen was too cracked to see the photo effect clearly, so I could only frown and keep adjusting. The makeup artist patted me and said, "Dude, this is the actress's makeup time. Don't hog the mirror." I shot him glare. His expression instantly froze, and his eyes turned dark and cold, just like that colorful black Director Wong could never find. The makeup artist was so excited he almost cried. He quickly pushed me back into the chair, snapped countless photos, then rushed out shouting, Director Wong, look what a treasure I've found." Director Wong followed impatiently. The moment he saw me, he stopped breathing. I was leaning against the chair back, stray hair covering my brows and eyes, lips slightly pursed, exuding a strong sense of displeasure, as if I had just finished butchering someone. "Who's this?" Director Wong asked. I forced a fake smile. "Director Wong, I'm M.O. Fei, the male lead number 5 you interviewed this morning." Director Wong was stunned. This morning he looked like a monk begging for alms, but in the time it takes to eat a box lunch, he'd picked up a murder case. Yet inspiration surged in Director Wong's mind. Usually hidden in the crowd and unremarkable, but when you catch a sudden glimpse, he's struck by that aura of melting into the darkness. This was the twisted killer he wanted. It's a pity that male lead number 5 has too few scenes. Changing the script at the last minute would affect everything. The screenwriter would be strung up over the flying pages, and the investors wouldn't let him off. Your psycho killer aura is great. We'll work together again if there's a chance. Director Wong patted my shoulder and said, "Tone it down for this scene." I understood. He thought I was showing off my skills, trying to steal the billing order. I didn't mean that at all. Being a pretty face is great, no effort, just get paid. But the director clearly misunderstood and even said he could use me in the next show. That's not bad either. Director, rest assured, your expectations are my goals. Absolutely. I hid in a corner, took out a small mirror, and adjusted my expression. Sometimes baring my teeth, sometimes sneering. Male lead number 3, who accidentally glimpsed this, shuffled his feet shakily, trying to get the director to check my medical records and criminal record. My phone rang, a missed call from Sister Lou. She's probably almost here and wants to ask my location. But the screen has cracked glass everywhere. I'm afraid that if I call back, the old buddy will give out on the spot. In my hesitation, a piercing scream erupted from the direction of the dressing room. The whole crew stopped. Director Wong was the first to react. What happened? I followed along the wall. At the entrance of the prop room, the burly prop master pointed an arm on the ground in panic, shouting hysterically, "I didn't make this. I didn't do it. It's not me." Director Wong impatiently picked up the arm, intending to throw it back into the prop pile. The moment he held it, his expression changed. It was too soft not to feel a prop should have. The prop master's face showed a mix of fear and admiration. "Director, I didn't make this. It seems real. Fuck." Director Wong let out a sharp exclamation, then flung his arm out. A heavy-set, middle-aged man jumped half a meter into the air. His hand was still trembling. Where the hell did this come from? Director Wong pressed his hand over his heart. Still shaken, the prop master had recovered a bit by now. He answered truthfully, "No idea. This is a whole arm. Not something you can just pick up like hair or fingernails. Could easily be tied to a murder case." Mo Fei, watching from behind, saw the arm fly through the air. His eyes lit up immediately. He stepped forward, studying it with keen interest. As he looked, he said, "From the size, thickness, and hair on this arm, it belongs to an adult female." He crouched down to examine the cross-section of the arm. The cross-section shows clear signs of a vital reaction. It was severed while she was still alive. The muscles on Director Wong's face were twitching. Severed? How do you know?" "Simple," Mo Fei said, pointing at the cross-section. "Look at the bone. The wounds on top are jagged and uneven. There's still flaps of muscle tissue. Typical wounds formed by multiple chopping motions." After hearing his words, the onlookers uncontrollably began to tremble. Seeing that the atmosphere was a bit off, Mo Fei hurriedly added, "You don't need to be too scared. Judging from these marks, the killer had to lift the knife high in order to barely dismember the body. He's not very strong," he said, and Mo Fei even raised his hand to demonstrate. "Just be careful not to go alone. An ordinary 3 or 5 able-bodied men could probably easily subdue him." "You just said the killer." The prop master cautiously raised his hand to ask, "Isn't that a bit inaccurate? What if the person isn't dead yet?" Mo Fei blinked his eyes, pointing to the other part of the arm, namely the hand. All the fingers were smashed to pieces. "Do you know what this means?" The prop master ventured a guess. This person chopped off his own hand because he couldn't stand the finger injury. This time, the onlookers stopped trembling. All eyes turned to the prop master. The silent disapproval was obvious. Mo Fei raised his index finger and shook it. "No, think carefully. What's on the fingers?" "Fingerprints." Director Wong also figured it out. "This is to destroy the fingerprints." "Correct." Mo Fei shot him an approving look. Cutting off the arm while the person was still alive, then destroying the fingerprints. And reasoning further, the intention of whoever did this becomes clear. Dismemberment murder, destroying identification, to prevent the police from identifying the victim. That way, they can't start investigating. Mo Fei rubbed his chin, speculating. Even if they find other parts of the body, there probably won't be any useful information, and they definitely won't find the head. Mo Fei paused. feeling he was being too absolute. He added, or rather, they definitely won't find a complete head. With that, he took out his phone. Director Wong was sensitive to this move. He immediately asked, "What are you doing?" "Call the police," Mo Fei said, as a matter of course. "You would want to keep that, would you?" He pointed at his arm. Director Wong's face turned green. "If we sound the alarm, it'll delay the shoot. If we don't, so many people have already seen it. It's hard to cover up, and what if failing to report it delays the investigation and the owner of that arm comes looking for him tonight? No matter what, older people tend to be a bit superstitious." Thinking this over, Director Wong waved his hand. "Report it, report it." Mo Fei swiped his screen. He immediately pulled up a piece of glass shard. He didn't choose to dial the emergency number directly. Instead, he made a WeChat call. The call was quickly answered. Officer Xiao Su S. Young. Energetic voice came through the earpiece. "Hello, model citizen. When are you coming in to give your statement? That girl left you a gift of thanks and a banner." The people around changed their expressions when they heard "give a statement." They wished they could immediately arrest this apparent suspect. But after hearing the second half about the gift and banner, everyone calmed down again. It's not illegal. That's okay." Mo Fei had no idea he was almost pinned to the ground. He was still foolishly greeting Officer Su. "All right, I'll head over once I'm done here. Oh, by the way, I'm at the film studio now. If there's a problem here, does it fall under your jurisdiction too?" Officer Su's voice became noticeably more serious. "Yeah, what's going on over there? Poisoning or secret filming? Or did you catch a trafficker? I'll come right away." Mo Fei quickly stopped him. "No, none of that. How could it be that unlucky encountering two groups of traffickers in one day? Actually, it's quite simple. Our crew found an arm." Officer Su was a bit doubtful of his ears. "Found what? An arm?" Mo Fei thought for a moment, then added, "It doesn't look like a prosthetic limb." He had put it as tactfully but directly as possible. Officer Su clearly understood. He just said, "Send me the address," and then hung up the phone. Seeing him finish the call, Director Wong cautiously spoke up and asked, "Oh, Xiao Montak, are you very familiar with the police? Reporting a case is as natural as chatting. Is this normal?" Mo Fei thought about how often he'd been going to the police station recently. He slowly nodded. Very familiar. The onlookers, including Director Wong, instantly held him in awe. Normally, unless you have a relative who is a police officer, who would be that familiar with the police? Combined with Mo Fei's reaction upon seeing the severed limbs and his overall demeanor, everyone's imaginations ran wild. Director Wong's imagination ran the wildest. A filmmaker can't lack a vivid imagination. Although this incident was thrilling, the inspiration it brought was just gushing out. At least now Director Wong wasn't scared anymore. He even wanted to go find his writing partner to draft a script. In the gap while waiting for the police to arrive, under Mo Fei's suggestion, Director Wong had everyone withdraw from the prop department's area. Preserve the scene. Actually, the scene had already been largely compromised. That arm had passed through the hands of both the prop master and Director Wong. Tossed back and forth, any evidence was long gone. But the procedure still had to be followed. When Lu Chunxiu arrived at the film crew, she felt the entire crew's atmosphere was strange. Everyone had a kind of, hard to describe, but very odd feeling, as if the crew wasn't just filming a battle royale, but had actually fallen into one themselves. Lu Chunxiu had never dealt with a crew at Director Wong's level. She kept wondering to herself, could this be some peculiar habit of big directors? She randomly grabbed a crew member to ask, "Excuse me, do you know where Mo Fei is? The one who auditioned for male role number 5 today." The crew member she grabbed was a bit unhappy at first, but after hearing what Lu Chunxiu said, his expression turned to awe. "You mean Mo Fei?" Lu Chunxiu didn't quite understand what that expression meant. He hesitated and nodded. The staff member pointed in a direction. "Over there, together with Director Wong." "Thank you." After expressing his thanks, Lu Chunxiu walked in that direction. He could faintly hear the staff member muttering something under their breath. You really can't judge a book by its cover. The atmosphere on set was too strange. Lu Chunxiu had already come up with many guesses in his mind, including but not limited to the possibility that his dear little one was coveted by the director for some under-the-table dealings, or that his poor little guy was being bullied by other actors on set because he was too handsome, and also being forced to film repeated slapping scenes because he had no connections. Thinking this way, Lu Chunxiu had already mentally prepared himself to see a miserable and pitiful Mo Fei, just as she had rehearsed in her mind what tone to use to express her fearless defiance against authority. What she saw was Ma Fei sitting with Director Wang, holding a teacup and chatting cheerfully. Liu Chunxiu's mind went blank for a moment. What kind of scene was this? Where was her little pitiful, cute one? He looked perfectly normal. And this guy, did he even know what fear was? He wasn't nervous at the police station. Now he was sitting across from a veteran director like Wang, someone who could blacklist them with just a word. And he was just casually chatting away. Liu Chunxiu couldn't quite understand. At first, she hadn't realized Ma Fei had such epic social skills. She thought he was just an introverted shut-in. While she was questioning life, Ma Fei spotted her. His face instantly lit up with a bright smile. "Cicely, you're here." Director Wang followed Ma Fei's gaze. Indeed, he hadn't seen this little agent before. Liu Chunxiu knew it wasn't time to space out. She stepped forward and exchanged pleasantries with Director Wang. "Director Wang, it's an honor to meet you. Our little Fei has been a handful for you." Director Wang waved his hand. "No trouble at all. If anything, Xiao and Mo has given me many pleasant surprises." We haven't signed a contract yet, have we?" Director Wang turned and shouted at the script supervisor. "Print me a contract." For the fifth male, Li Jiang Xiaoyu recommended Mo Fei. Now that Director Wang is satisfied, it's finally set. Hearing that a contract would be signed, the smile on Mo Fei's face became even more sincere. "Once the contract is signed, does that mean I'll get paid?" Lu Chunxiu elbowed him. "Is that any way to talk?" Director Wang patted his belly and chuckled. "Yes, of course. I'm not some evil capitalist skimming salaries. But the shooting schedule will be a bit tight from now on. Clear your time, let's finish filming quickly." On the very first day, we found an arm. Drag it out, and who knows what else might turn up, maybe a smashed skull. Bad luck, but I've got plenty of free time. Mo Fei's muttering was cut off by a sharp glance from Lu Chunxiu. In this industry, the most important thing is saving face. Even if there are no gigs, you can't just say it outright. Director Wang has survived all these years. He's long become a seasoned pro. He understands these unspoken rules, but he doesn't really care that much. He pulled out his phone from his bag. Let's add each other on WeChat first. Maybe there will be chances to collaborate in the future." Lu Chunxiu was almost overwhelmed by this surprise. With Director Wang's status, adding her would be like reaching the sky in a single step. Lu Chunxiu dazedly took out her phone. Dazedly added Director Wang. At the end, she still remembered to put 3 A's in front of his name. She pinned the chat. Mo Fei ignored them. He took the freshly printed contract from the script supervisor and flipped through it. He was quite satisfied when he saw the salary column. Although it can't compare with top-tier stars, but it's more than working a regular job. I can say goodbye to plain noodles. Mo Fei's joy was beyond words. The embarrassing display made Lu Chunxiu's toes curl. "Sorry about that, Director Wang. It's my little Fei's first time in a big production. You might be a bit too excited." "It's fine." Director Wang looked at Mo Fei, his eyes full of appreciation. "Making money isn't shameful. Who doesn't like money?" "I sure do." Lu Chunxiu's tone immediately changed. Right. Xiao Fei, you should learn a lot from Director Wang." Mo Fei was still weighing whether to get his phone repaired or just buy a new one. He nodded politely. By the time the contract was signed, police cars had already driven into the film studio. Only 6 or 7 minutes had passed since Mo Fei called them. Clearly, Officer Xiao Su and his team had responded quite quickly. The other crews, hearing the sirens, couldn't help but gossip. Which group got into trouble this time? Cut a safety wire or smoking weed? Sirens blaring like that. Could it be that some sightseeing fans followed them here, saw the leads filming a scene, and attacked an actor? Directors from other crews were also furious. They cursed directly. "What are you looking at? Haven't you seen police before? If you've been filming here for a few years, you'll see not just police, but even the Discipline Inspection Commission. Go back and film. The equipment is running, and that's money, you know? It's human nature to gawk at a spectacle." Director Wang issued a gag order immediately to keep the set quiet. Otherwise, paparazzi and reporters would have blocked the place by now. Even police cars might not be able to get through. The officers who arrived at the scene were the same Officer Xiao Su and the older officer from the morning. There was also a middle-aged man carrying a case. This time, they were very serious. The older officer immediately asked where the arm was. Who was the first to discover it? What were the circumstances of the discovery? Officer Xiao Su aimed his camera at the prop and clicked away. The man with the case put on gloves and carefully placed the arm inside. The case was emitting white mist. An inappropriate thought popped into Mo Fei's mind. Besides chilling an arm, this thing would work pretty well for chilling sour plum soup too. Thought. Lu Chunxiu had been going to the police station frequently these days to bail out Mo Fei. Now he could stay calm even when seeing the police. He even tugged at Mo Fei, wanting to ask what was going on. But clearly, now was not the time for gossip. The senior officer first questioned the prop master. The arm was mixed in with a pile of fake arms and legs in the props department. A battle royale film set couldn't possibly be without these. The prop master thought, since filming was about to start, he needed to check on things. He planned to take everything out and organize it. As he rifled through, he found that prop limbs, unless there were special requirements, were generally made of wood or plastic. The better ones were made of silicone. After all, the close-ups in post-production were usually just the fingers. Arms covered by fabric and fake blood didn't have as many demands. That particular arm was exactly the opposite. The arm was intact, but the fingers were smashed to pieces. The young prop girl saw this and thought it was a damaged prop, so she was about to take it out and discard it. But the moment she picked it up, the limp, heavy feel of the severed limb startled her badly. A prop maker can always tell the real from the fake. She immediately let out a scream, which alerted the entire crew, even leaving the head of the prop department dumbfounded. Back then, they used to drink, chat, and joke around, saying how they made these arms and legs all day, and always feared that one day a real one might slip in. Now, who would have thought that old joke would come true? Officer Xiao Su paced around the area a few times. The team had just started filming, and the prop room was still a mess. To someone unaware, a glance would make it look like a trash heap, and with so many people coming and going, there were hardly any traces left. They could only go back and check the surveillance footage. Director Wang basically accepted the truth, but lamented that something like this had to happen on the first day of shooting. Bad omen the first day was a total wash. Although the arm that appeared out of nowhere was terrifying, there was something even more terrifying. No work, no money. The arm wasn't his. If he had no money, he'd be the one to starve to death. Director Wang understood this better than anyone. During the worst slump, he churned out terrible movies. His reputation was ruined, but he relied on those awful films to keep his crew afloat. So he never saw anything wrong with loving money. In this business, without money, you're nothing. Even with money, you might still be nothing. After the arm was taken away, there wasn't much else to do. Just get on with the filming, finish it quickly, and be done with it. Director Wang had an indescribable premonition. If they didn't hurry, there might be further trouble. But for now, there was no way they'd get any work done today. The older officer was surnamed Tang. In terms of seniority, he was Officer Su's mentor. Officer Tang had seen a lot. He could handle this scene, being able to calm the public while questioning. Officer Xiao Su was obviously much more serious. The previous times he encountered Mo Fei reporting a case, he could still make a few jokes. This time there wasn't a trace of a smile on his face. After finishing the questioning with the crew, the officers temporarily sealed off the prop room, preparing to go back first to examine that arm. Just as they were about to get in the car, Mo Fei suddenly called out to them. He turned to ask Director Wang, "We probably can't shoot today, right?" Director Wang didn't know what he meant by asking that question, but nodded, I'll rearrange the schedule today. You come early tomorrow." Mo Fei nodded, walked over to the police car, and asked Officer Xiao Su, "Can I catch a ride? Anyway, I'll have to go to the police station later to give a morning statement, so I might as well go in the police car now. It'll save me taxi fare." Officer Xiao Su glanced at Officer Tang, and only after Officer Tang nodded did he say, "Okay." Lu Chunxiu could only watch as Mo Fei cheerfully got into the police car and sped away. Suddenly, no one knew what was happening. Could it be that the kid had secretly taken a crime drama role and went to gather materials? Xiao Lu, Director Wang saw Lu Chunxiu still standing there. Couldn't help asking, "Aren't you going to follow and see?" Lu Chunxiu turned around, forcing calm. "It's nothing. Xiao Fei has his own ideas. No need for me to keep an eye on him all the time. I have other artists to attend to, some business. I'll take my leave then." With that, Lu Chunxiu fled the scene like the wind. That brat. Did he even remember his agent was right there? And in broad daylight, hopping onto a police car without a care. If someone took a picture, he'd have a lot of explaining to do later. Lu Chunxiu mentally cursed Mo Fei 800 times over. Still, he couldn't help pulling out his phone to message him and ask what was going on. Mo Fei replied quickly. Just a cheeky wink emoji. Looking at that emoji, Lu Chunxiu knew it was nothing serious. But the urge to kill Mo Fei grew even stronger. In the police car, Officer Xiao Su was driving. Officer Tang sat in the passenger seat. The middle-aged man holding the cooler sat in the back seat with Ma Fei. The middle-aged man caught a glimpse of the shattered glass on Ma Fei's phone screen as he replied to messages. He couldn't help but ask, "Young man, you're an actor, right? Don't actors earn a lot? And you're using this phone?" Ma Fei smiled and was about to answer. But Officer Xiao Su cut in and replied, "Brother Zhang, you wouldn't know this. This morning we went out and caught a few human traffickers, and it was him who took them down with just one phone." Officer Xiao Su had a hint of a smile on his face. "Oh, and that young mother saw your situation. Your new phone and the banner of appreciation are waiting at the police station. Make sure to take them when you leave later." Ma Fei's eyes lit up a little. "New phone?" Officer Xiao Su chuckled. "Yeah, it's a token of her gratitude. Because of Ma Fei's heroic deed." Officer Xiao Su had a very good impression of him. But Mo Fei noticed that Officer Tang in the passenger seat had remained silent the whole time and kept glancing at him through the rearview mirror. The way she looked at him wasn't like she was watching an ordinary citizen. It was more like she was assessing some kind of hazardous substance. After arriving at the police station, Mo Fei didn't even need to be told what to do. He poured himself a glass of water, grabbed a piece of candy from Officer Xiao Su's desk, and familiarly found the interrogation room, sitting down on his own. If it weren't for the mandatory recording process, Mo Fei could have written out his own statement by himself. Another female officer on duty saw this scene and couldn't help but remark, "This guy. Is he treating this place like his in-law's house?" Officer Tang seemed puzzled and tilted her head to ask, "Does he come here often?" The female officer nodded and replied, "Yeah, Captain Tang. You wouldn't know since you were away on business. He used to come file reports quite often last week. The first time he came, we were all saying he looked like a celebrity. Later on, we got so used to it we went numb." Officer Tang's eyes showed a hint of thoughtfulness. The morning's human trafficker incident was clear and straightforward. Mo Fei soon slipped into the reception room to check out his new phone. Officer Xiao Su said while shaking the pennant. The mother who posted photos of her child on social media in the morning happened to be spotted by those traffickers who were scouting the area. If it weren't for you, even with 10 mouths, she wouldn't be able to explain herself. He handed the pennant to Mo Fei. "Take a picture for publicity." Montauk Fei cooperatively stood aside, grinning like a fool. Officer Xiao Su teased him after seeing the final photo. "You always seemed so detached before. What made you come back to worldly matters now?" Mo Fei still wore that silly grin. "I'm doing this for my own personal safety. In his current Ripper state, if I don't exaggerate my smile, I'd probably be pinned down and cuffed right here in the police station. This is the safest place in the world for me." Officer Su couldn't help but laugh. "You're worried about other things?" Mo Fei thought to himself that it was these righteous folks he was guarding against. He took out the new phone the young mother had given him and looked at it. A very simple budget phone. Still, he was most satisfied with its weight. It felt heavy in his hand. He'd pair it with a sturdy phone case later. That way, if he ever needed to swing a phone at someone, it'd last longer. Mo Fei cheerfully inserted his SIM card into the new phone. Then he rolled up the pennant banner and tucked it under his arm. "Since everything's done, I'll head out first. My face is almost stiff from smiling." This was Officer Su's first time dealing with a dismembered limb since taking office. His mind had long since flown to the forensic lab. Upon hearing this, he just waved his hand. Go ahead, go ahead." After Mo Fei stepped out of the police station gate, Officer Tang, who had been waiting nearby, called out to him, "Mr. Mo, please hold on." Mo Fei hadn't expected anyone to call him back when he was almost out of the danger zone. For a split second, his facial expression management slipped, but he quickly followed up with a tilted head and a cute emoji. "What's wrong?" Officer Tang paused for a moment. His expression was not only serious, but even carried a hint of vigilance. That expression just now, gloomy and deep, he had been doing this for years, having seen all kinds of people. This M.O. Fei was definitely not as simple as he appeared. There was a criminal vibe about him. Officer Tang didn't show the vigilance in his mind, but instead smiled kindly. I heard from them about your experiences, Mr. M.O. I have to say, your life really is full of ups and downs. M.O. Fei knew he had been to the police station 4 times in a week, and now it was 5. That record was a bit exaggerated. He rubbed his nose and said awkwardly, I've been having bad luck lately. Officer Tang sneered inwardly. Whether it was bad luck or something else, he would find out eventually. For now, this M.O. Fei seemed very good at disguising himself. Maybe he also has some histrionic personality traits. These types are the most troublesome. It's hard to catch their flaws. He took out his phone and tapped it a few times. He showed the QR code in front of M.O. Fei. In that case, why not add each other on WeChat? If you run into any trouble, you can ask me. M.O. Fei said in surprise. I already added Comrade Xiao Su. Officer Tang extended his phone a bit further. His tone carried a teasing note. There's no such thing as too many friends. Or are you saying I'm not as good as that kid? When it came to that point, M.O. Fei had no choice but to silently take out his phone and add him. While he was doing so, Officer Tang casually leaned over and glanced. The new phone had nothing suspicious. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Officer Tang didn't expect to find anything at a glance. After adding the contact, M.O. Fei pointed at the road. I'll be going now. Take care. Officer Tang smiled and waved. He looked quite kind. Watch out for cars. M.O. Fei jogged all the way out of the police station. Officer Tang's expression instantly turned cold once M.O. Fei was out of sight. Chief, Brother Zhang is calling you over to hear the results. Officer Su jogged over to Officer Tang. When he saw his expression, he couldn't help but click his tongue. What's with that look on your face? Ran into my future son-in-law. Officer Tang shot him a glare, annoyed. That guy named M.O. Fei. Do you know him well? Kind of. Officer Su thought for a moment. He's an actor, a bit unlucky. But he's not a bad person. He keenly sensed something unusual in Officer Tang's questions. Leaning in, he asked, What's up? Do you think he's suspicious? Just a feeling. Maybe I'm wrong. Officer Tang wasn't planning to say much for now. After all, it was just a guess. Let's talk when there's more to go on. The report's been submitted. What did old Zhang say? Officer Su brought up the official matter, his expression turning serious. This matter was no small thing. Someone from above is coming. Officer Tang's expression turned stern. Let's go. Meanwhile, Ma Fei let out a long sigh of relief only after leaving the police station. He didn't know if it was because of the influence of Jack the Ripper, but he felt uncomfortable the moment he entered the station. It was like a demon entering a church, or an angel descending into hell. He felt just as awkward. But this visit wasn't without gains. Ma Fei touched the new phone in his pocket, a smile breaking out on his face. Doing good deeds brings good rewards. The old friend can retire now, and the banner makes a free wall decoration. Now that the contract is signed, once the payment comes in, I can go eat malatang. I can even add 2 extra eggs. Life really does get better and better. Ma Fei hummed a tune, preparing to walk back to the old neighborhood on foot. Although the road was a bit far, he had nothing else to do for the time being. Taking a taxi back would be too extravagant. Halfway there, his new phone rang once. M.O. Fei took it out and saw a bank deposit notification. Director Wang had always been straightforward in his dealings. As soon as the contract was signed, the payment came through. M.O. Fei stared at his balance, finally no longer just 3 digits, and his eyes practically sparkled. He counted it several times back and forth, and after confirming that, barring any accidents, he wouldn't need to worry about expenses for the next 6 months, he almost burst out laughing. Occasionally, passersby who caught sight of him couldn't help but give him a wide berth. A mentally ill person hurting someone wouldn't even be against the law, so staying far away was safer. M.O. Fei, however, paid no attention to others' opinions. He clutched his phone and skipped along happily. As he skipped through a narrow alley, he heard some rustling sounds. M.O. Fei stopped in his tracks and eyed the shallow alley suspiciously. Compared to an alley, it might be more accurate to describe it as a dark corner. It was narrow and cramped, cluttered with garbage and debris. You could see the end at a glance. Mo Fei was still wondering if he was being overly sensitive because of his passive skill. When faint noises came from the dark corner, countless stories in this world tell people that being too curious is never a good thing. Helping others is a fine virtue, but it doesn't always benefit oneself, no matter what's in there. The real priority is to turn around and leave quickly. Mo Fei touched his pounding little heart, but he still decided to move forward. On a workday, the streets were already sparsely populated. No one would pay attention to that dark corner. Mo Fei watched from across the street for 10 minutes. In the end, he resignedly picked up a branch and began to explore. He swore to himself, if there was a man with a bloody face lying inside, he'd call the police immediately. If it was something else, then he'd decide based on the situation before calling the police. He had 2 cops saved in his phone, after all. Previously, the passive skill had brought Ma Fei all sorts of civil disputes and criminal cases. So he subconsciously imagined the thing inside to be terrifying. But when he painstakingly found a foothold and squeezed into the dark corner, he saw a curled-up mass on the ground, an unidentified object that almost merged with the pitch-black floor. He still couldn't help letting out a sound. Ma Fei poked the thing with a branch. Suddenly, a pair of green eyes appeared on the ground. The abyss is staring at me. Ma Fei almost jumped up the wall. Cthulhu, an unspeakable horror. After going through the card system and the ridiculously troublesome passive skill, Ma Fei had become particularly superstitious and wary of ghosts and spirits. Even though there was no evidence to prove such things existed, he remained in awe of them. He fumbled to take out his phone. Does this fall under police jurisdiction? Just as he was about to call Officer Xiao Su, the abyss opened its eyes. He meowed weakly, with no strength left. Mo Fei was so startled that his phone fell to the ground. In the light of the lit screen, he could finally see that it wasn't some unknown object, but a pitch-black cat. The cat looked to be in very poor condition, curled up in a ball in the corner. With its eyes closed, its black fur served as camouflage. No wonder Mo Fei hadn't spotted it before. Since it wasn't something science couldn't explain, Mo Fei's heart, which had nearly jumped out of his chest, settled back down. He bent down to pick up his phone and noticed a new crack on the screen of his new phone. Mo Fei touched it with a pained expression, then glanced back at the black cat that had let out one cry and gone silent. He scolded it fiercely. It's all your fault. If you hadn't scared me, will my phone have gotten a crack? Mo Fei shoved his phone back into his pocket, took off his jacket, and wrapped the entire cat inside. The black cat was picked up. His green eyes suddenly went wide. A very human-like surprise appeared on the cat's face. Mo Fei let out a sinister chuckle. You'll be called One Slit from now on. One Slit, whether it was really in bad shape or just too good-natured. Didn't struggle at all when Mo Fei picked it up. It closed its eyes and lay down, looking so peaceful that Mo Fei felt jealous. This cat seemed way more comfortable than him. When passing by a trash can, Mo Fei had a fleeting urge to toss it in. But on second thought, if he threw it in, he'd have to fish it out himself later. Forget it. He used his phone to navigate to the nearest pet hospital. After examining One Slit, the vet said the prognosis wasn't good. Mo Fei grimaced, clutching his phone in agony. He knew it wasn't good. All those tests cost money. Almost 2 months' worth of his rent. This cat shouldn't be called One Slit. Call it 2 months instead. Given the situation, it might even need more than 2 months. The vet looked at Mo Fei's stance and couldn't help swallowing. Mo Fei seemed shrouded in a dark aura, his eyes dropping as if deciding who to go after today, then lifting as if he'd already chosen his target. The moment his mouth moved, it was like he was about to list out the victims. The vet's heart quivered, but he still mustered up the courage to continue. The kitten has a few broken bones and some inflammation. It needs to stay for treatment. The follow-up cost won't be cheap either. As he spoke, the black cat lay on its side on the table, lifting its head, its green eyes fixed on them, looking exceptionally intelligent. Mo Fei's expression twisted. Treat it. We already picked it up. Can't just let it die in my hands, can I? He looked at the black cat, meeting those green eyes, and said with bitter indignation, You timed this right, didn't you? Right after I just got paid. The black cat elegantly licked its paw. Turn his head away. Don't pretend you don't understand. Mo Fei glanced at the bill from the vet. His vision went dark, then white. Fortunately, although the cost was high, it was still bearable. At worst, he'd just have to skip meat and eggs in his Malatang from now on. Seeing that he had calmed down, the vet also breathed a sigh of relief. Who would have thought that someone who seemed to regard human life as nothing would actually care enough to rescue a small animal? You really can't judge a book by its cover. The vet felt a bit more at ease. Then, "Sir, please leave a contact number. I'll notify you when the kitten is discharged." "Notify me?" Montauk Fei was confused. "Why would you notify me?" The vet was also baffled. "You're the owner. Of course I should notify you." No. Mo Fei waved his hand repeatedly. "I found it on the roadside. I'm not its owner." "Not the owner?" The vet's expression instantly turned subtle. These days, there are also psychopaths who abuse small animals. And there are those who abuse them, then treat them, then abuse them again. Ma Fei had no idea what he was thinking. But judging by his expression alone, it was obviously nothing good. Ripper and Buddha Child. These two cards were polar opposites in terms of starting goodwill with strangers. One didn't look like a good person at all. The other didn't look like a bad person at all. Ma Fei was frustrated, but he could only swallow it down. He forced a smile. "Yeah, I found it on the side of a road." Ma Fei deliberately stressed the word side of the road. He showed off the banner he'd been carrying. "See? I found it on my way back after receiving this banner." The vet glanced at the words on the banner. Heroic deed. A polite smile appeared on his face. "Oh, I see. You're a truly good person." His tone sounded completely flat. Ma Fei rolled up the banner, giving up on explaining entirely. The black cat on the table had somehow shifted to a lying position, its cat head facing him. Mo Fei could clearly see mockery on that cat's face. The creature that had cost him his salary from a film was laughing at him. Mo Fei and the cat locked eyes. Then he smiled and said to the veterinarian, "Actually, I rescued it because I wanted to adopt it. Do you have any pet supplies here?" The black cat's pupils fully contracted. Mo Fei felt satisfied. When he stood at the pet hospital entrance holding cat food and litter, he still hadn't realized that as a human, he had been provoked by a cat into impulsively adopting it. And for that cat, he had spent nearly 10,000 yuan on medical bills and cat food. Mo Fei felt a dull ache in his heart. His conscience didn't hurt anymore, but his wallet did. He dragged his heavy steps home, constantly cursing himself in his mind. "Just because I got paid, I got all high and mighty. Now I see a corner and can't tell if it's life or death." But then again, if his pay hadn't been delayed, he wouldn't have been in the mood to check what was in the corner. As it was, he could only comfort himself in his heart. That black cat must be a lucky charm. As the old saying goes, cats bring wealth, dogs bring prosperity. Wow, little money. Ma Fei was immersed in the pain of money flying away. By the time he returned near the old neighborhood, the sky had already darkened. At this hour, most people were home eating dinner, so there were even fewer people outside. Ma Fei dragged 2 parcels toward the neighborhood. A minivan barely grazed past him. It startled Ma Fei so much he had no time to feel sad. That minivan was driving quite arrogantly. In a residential area with relatively heavy foot traffic, it nearly hit someone without even slowing down. There had already been enough happening today. Ma Fei had planned to go back and release some electronic fish to accumulate good karma, not wanting to stir up trouble. But now he was bullied right at his own doorstep. How could he tolerate that? The cat had mocked him. The car even taunted him. Ma Fei flung the 2 large bags of cat food and litter off his hands, and also threw the pennant aside, then immediately gave chase. While running, he picked up a piece of broken brick from the roadside greenery. It's unlikely that 2 legs can catch up with a car, but he can make the car stop on its own. Ma Fei took a brief aim and hurled the broken brick with force. It hit the van's rear windshield squarely, shattering the rear windshield completely. The van slowed down a bit. Ma Fei was still waiting to argue with the driver, but unexpectedly, the van only slowed momentarily before stepping on the gas and fleeing. Ma Fei stood there, choking on exhaust fumes, feeling a bit foolish. He pulled out his phone and sent a voice message to Officer Xiao Su. "I think I've run into trouble again." Officer Xiao Su replied almost instantly. "Tell me about it." "I just smashed the rear windshield of a van. The driver didn't even stop and just sped off." Mo Fei added another point after saying that. He slowed down, so he definitely knew he was hit. "I suspect he was driving drunk or high. Otherwise, he wouldn't be this guilty. These days, the shameless ones act like big shots." Someone who nearly hits a person and doesn't slow down can't be the type to admit fault and make amends. If that guy's car got smashed, he'd be lucky if he didn't get beaten up and extorted for 88,000 yuan. Flooring it and running away just shows he's feeling guilty. Officer Xiao Su seemed to agree. He sent a message, license plate number, location. I'll have traffic control check it out. Seeing this message, Mo Fei smiled with the satisfaction of a model citizen. Then Officer Xiao Su's second message came through. If the guy turns out to be clean, you'll have to pay for damages. Mo Fei's smile faltered. He put his phone back in his pocket and sullenly turned back to pick up the cat food, litter, and the banner. When Mo Fei got home, exhausted, he couldn't even be bothered to cook instant noodles. He stared at the takeout app interface, which he was using for the first time, and had a long internal struggle. In the end, he shamelessly picked up an empty bowl from home and knocked on the door of the grandmother downstairs. Granny Zhang downstairs was an empty nester. She usually stayed home alone. Mo Fei would occasionally help her change a light bulb or move a box. Sometimes, when Mo Fei ran out of food, he would shamelessly go to her place for a free meal. Granny Zhang was always welcoming. Like this time, even though Mo Fei hadn't said anything in advance, the little old lady still cheerfully welcomed him. She even stir-fried 2 extra dishes to feed the hungry boy. Watching Mo Fei eat with gusto, Granny Zhang was very happy. Eat more, Xiao Fei. The good boy has gotten thin from hunger. Granny Zhang really liked Mo Fei. He was handsome and polite. She looked at Mo Fei with a face full of affection. Eat more, eat more. It's better to see you like this. A few days ago, I thought you were going to become a monk. Mo Fei choked on his rice. He could only force an awkward smile honestly. He wasn't doing much better at shaking off that criminal vibe. Granny Zhang pushed the plate forward, motioning for Mo Fei to continue eating. Mo Fei wolfed down his dinner in a flurry, obediently helped Granny Zhang wash the dishes before heading back to his room. Lying in bed, he couldn't help but replay the day in his mind. Today, he changed his card, checked in, picked up a cat, and even happened to act heroically, playing the role of a cooperative citizen with the police like a model neighbor. What a rich and colorful day it had been. Mo Fei silently prayed that the days ahead wouldn't be so eventful. This wasn't a movie shoot. People could actually die from exhaustion. Nightfall shrouded the entire city. Some people had knocked off work and fallen into deep sleep. Others were working overtime under bright lights. At this moment, the police station also welcomed a group of weary travelers. Officer Tang and Officer Xiao Su had received word in the afternoon that the special task force was coming. The sky had just darkened when people arrived. A black SUV drove into the police station's courtyard. 4 men and 1 woman got out of the car. Everyone looked somewhat tired. Officer Tang saw the headlights and knew they had arrived. He went out to greet them with Officer Xiao Su. Among the 5, a middle-aged man was clearly the leader. When that man saw Officer Tang, a flicker of surprise crossed his eyes. Tang Xi and Officer Tang was also taken aback. Seniorly, he quickly recovered. He began to introduce them. Senior, this is Su Tiansheng, just graduated a couple of years ago. Xiao Su, this is Senior Li Zhangyu. He used to mentor me in criminal investigations. Li Zhangyu waved his hand. Don't call me senior. We're all comrades. Where are the severed limbs you discovered? Take me to see them. The task force Li Zhangyu brought this time was specifically for the severed limbs. Recently, they had received reports from the public about dismembered bodies found in multiple locations. At first, it was unrecognizable corpses. It later escalated into dismemberment. The nature of the crime was extremely heinous. Moreover, from the locations where the bodies were found, it was clear the killer was not staying in one place, but was committing crimes while moving around. Li Zhangyu had been handling a case in the neighboring city. Upon receiving the news from here, he immediately sensed something was wrong and rushed over. The biggest characteristic of this killer's crimes was that he would erase the victim's identifying information, fingerprints, facial features, and any personal identification documents. These are the most direct and convenient means of confirming a victim's identity. At a time when genetic monitoring has not yet been fully implemented, trying to confirm these victims' information was extremely difficult. Moreover, from the identities of the victims that have been confirmed, this killer was essentially committing crimes without any pattern. Scattershot, hitting here and there at random. except that all victims were vulnerable groups like women, the elderly, and children. No other commonalities could be found. This is also the most troublesome part. God knows when this guy will have another episode. But even so, Lee Sang-yu was also starting to see a pattern. The killer targeting women, the elderly, and children indicated that their physical strength wasn't formidable. They were just ruthless enough. And when the locations where the bodies were discovered were connected on the map, a trail emerged. They were basically distributed near the national highway. The killer had also drifted along the highway into the city. From the various body parts pieced together so far, there were at least 23 victims. Lee Sang-yu's brow was deeply furrowed. The colleagues who came with him also wore grim expressions. 23? Officer Su exclaimed in shock. That number is terrifying. This is peacetime. What kind of person is so deranged? That's why we must do everything to find the killer and bring them to justice. Lee Sang-yu slammed his fist on the desk. They had all sworn to protect the people's lives and property. Every criminal was a slap in their face, whether for the victims or for their convictions. Must never let the murderer go unpunished. After a night of sweet dreams, Ma Fei crawled out of bed in the morning light, his hair sticking up, making him look dazed and confused. He had been dreaming all night long, dreaming that every day in the future would be a battle royale. In the morning, into the police station in the afternoon, blood and gore. Terrifying, absolutely terrifying. Ma Fei wiped his face, comforting himself that dreams are the opposite of reality, which meant his future would surely be peaceful and stable. Never setting foot in a police station again. After psyching himself up, Ma Fei glanced at the balance in his card, feeling that a new day was full of motivation. He changed into a white tracksuit, flashed a bright smile at the mirror. The person in the mirror smiled maliciously with a hidden blade behind the grin. Well, that whole effort fell apart. Ma Fei rubbed his cheeks, smiled again, though it was a bit exaggerated and goofy. At least it looked friendly. Life is so hard. Ma Fei rushed to the set all the way. This time, nothing unexpected happened on the road. Director Wong and the screenwriter stayed up half the night yesterday, rewriting the script once. Director Wong reflected deeply on his mistakes, feeling that starting the film off on a bad note was unlucky. So he packed the schedule even tighter. Even Ma Fei's role changed from a cold-faced vase to a sunny, cheerful vase. This was also Director Wong's change to reduce the number of NGs. After all, it was just a vase role. A little change didn't matter. With the personality changed, just add a few more lines. Ma Fei almost burst into tears when he got the new script. Damn, I have to memorize lines. No more slacking off. Same pay, but more lines. For other actors, it might be a great thing. But Ma Fei just wanted to say the fewest lines and earn the same amount of money. But now the script had been handed out, and he had already spent the money, so he had no say in the matter. The day's filming went surprisingly smoothly. No incidents occurred in between, except for the third male lead, who occasionally stole glances at Ma Fei, looking somewhat afraid. Everything was normal, and Director Wong breathed a sigh of relief. At this rate, filming would be finished in just over a month. He wanted to go to the temple and pray again, hoping there wouldn't be any more dismembered limbs. Ma Fei had already put all the messy things out of his mind. In his free time, he chatted up the old man distributing box lunches, trying to get an extra box lunch to take home every day. To be honest, the crew's box lunches weren't tasty. They were greasy and had no lean meat. Picky eaters would feel like vomiting at the smell of the grease. But Ma Fei wasn't picky. When it came to eating, he was very easy to please. No matter how bad the box lunch was, could it be worse than plain boiled noodles? Come on, the crew always prepared some extra box lunches. In theory, taking one to go shouldn't be too difficult. But the meal-serving uncle looked at Ma Fei with full vigilance. No matter what, he wouldn't easily give in. The uncle was old, not stupid. He could tell at a glance that Ma Fei was no good. He'd rather take the food back to feed the dogs than let a jerk have it. Ma Fei was disappointed his demeanor made him look even less like a decent person. The uncle guarded the lunchbox. Stiffening his neck, he would rather die than yield. Ma Fei pursed his lips, but couldn't do anything to the uncle. He could only go back dejectedly. Director Wong sat on a soft stool, watching Ma Fei get humbled. He couldn't help turning around to ask the assistant director, "Is the box lunch in our crew that good?" The assistant director answered honestly, "It's average." "Then why does he look like that?" Director Wong pointed at Mo Fei. Isn't it just a boxed lunch? He didn't look like a good guy to begin with. Now he looks even gloomier. Just needs a little rain to grow mushrooms. The assistant director smacked his lips. Maybe he just loves our team so much. As for saying he's so poor, he has to pack leftovers from the set. Impossible. They just got paid yesterday. The two of them could never imagine that someone could be so stingy that even with money, they'd still freeload the crew's box lunches. After all, this stuff really doesn't taste good. The stingy guy, Ma Fei, gets dejected quickly, but he perks up just as fast. He's now the most promising protege under LV Chunxiu. LV Chunxiu had promised to pick him up from the set every day. At the same time, she wanted to be more familiar with Director Wong. Last time, they agreed to collaborate when the opportunity arises. Hope it wasn't just empty talk. Sis LV, Ma Fei started calling out as soon as he got in the car. His voice was all twisted and drawn out. LV Chunxiu's skin crawled all over. Even after being with Ma Fei for so long, she could never get used to his whining. Some people's whining is like a gentle knife. Some people's whining is like a poisoned steel blade. What do you want to eat? Spit it out. Liu Chunxiu knew Mo Fei's true colors well. He was stingy as if he hadn't seen money in 800 years. Whenever he got the chance, he would mooch meals. But this time, she also had a cut from the crew. Treating him to a meal was no big deal. Montauk Fei chuckled slyly. Lanzhao pulled noodles. Liu Chunxiu started the car. She laughed and scolded. Is that all the ambition you've got? Although Mo Fei loved to mooch, he had restraint, always ordering cheap and filling food. He never tried to rip anyone off. After all, relationships need to be maintained. The portion sizes at the Lanzhao noodle place were always generous. Only after finishing 2 plates did Mo Fei pat his belly with satisfaction. Liu Chunxiu's I twitched at the sight. If you gain even a little weight, you're going on a diet. Mo Fei didn't take it seriously. He ate a lot, but he also often didn't get full. Poverty doesn't cause obesity, nor does being stingy. After the meal, Liu Chunxiu ignored him. Let him walk back, euphemistically calling it digestion and weight loss. After all, at the moment, Ma Fei really relies on his looks to make a living. When he got off work, it was pitch dark. After eating, the stars were hanging high in the sky. Walking on the road, Ma Fei felt there was a certain atmosphere. As long as nothing goes wrong next, today would be a perfect day. The moment this thought crossed Ma Fei's mind, he slapped himself. You can't think about things like that. The more you think about it, the more it happens, Murphy's Law. But unfortunately, he was too late with that slap. When he reached the old neighborhood, at the same spot as yesterday, the same van whizzed past him again. Even the crack in the rear windshield from Ma Fei's hit yesterday was still there. For a moment, Ma Fei wondered if he had traveled through time. But unlike yesterday, the van stopped. The car door was pushed open, and 2 men climbed out. Both were dressed as simple migrant workers. But Ma Fei could tell at a glance that there was a fierce look in their eyes. It was something he'd seen every time he looked in the mirror these past 2 days. Hard not to recognize it, really. Ma Fei slipped one hand into his pocket and started feeling around blindly, trying to open WeChat to contact Officer Xiao, Su, or Officer Tang. For an ordinary person, this maneuver might be tricky, but Ma Fei's phone had nothing on it except the essential apps. And the crack from yesterday's fall on the screen served as a guide. He actually managed to open WeChat, though accurately calling the police was unlikely. The 2 migrant workers, wooden sticks in hand, strode toward him menacingly. It looked like they were going to beat him up. A contemptuous smile spread across Ma Fei's face. That smile made the 2 men slow their pace for a moment. Uncertain whether he had some trick up his sleeve, Mo Fei noticed they had slowed down and bolted straight into the old neighborhood. 2 idiots getting out of the car to pick a fight like that. When you have a car, don't you just ram them directly? Why grab a stick isn't as effective as a car. A scrape at 10 miles per hour, a hospital trip at 30. At 60 miles per hour, call the crematorium. Even breaking the stick isn't as fast as just stepping on the gas. But as a good citizen, he sure wasn't going to teach those scumbags how to do things. Sooner or later, he'd send them all to the station to boost Officer Su's stats. Mo Fei grumbled internally while shouting like a banshee. Those 2 felt like beating him up, but seemed to have some reservations, and didn't chase after him. Instead, they got into the van and drove off. Someone in the old building was disturbed by Mo Fei's noise. Opened the window and cursed, "Stop that racket!" Screaming for the dead? Get lost if you've got nothing better to do. If those two had actually given chase, Mo Fei would just curse back at him, going with something like, if you've got guts, come down and fight me. I've got brothers backing me up. That kind of bluff to provoke. But now that no one had chased after them, Mo Fei shrank his head back. He obediently shut his mouth and went home. However, this matter was still a bit problematic. Mo Fei sat on the bed, opened WeChat, and sent a message to Officer Su. The van from yesterday showed up again today. They even wanted to hit me. He's a law-abiding citizen, after all. I almost got beaten up. Officer Su didn't reply instantly this time. After burning the midnight oil yesterday, today they were out making visits and investigations again, and they still had to look for more body parts and cross-check missing persons information. In short, they were so busy they were practically smoking from the top of their heads, wishing they could split a minute into 120 seconds. Mo Fei waited for a while and felt that it really wasn't a good time to bother them with such trivial matters. But this also served as a reminder of that damn passive trait. Like a moth to a flame, this kind of trouble is probably going to become a daily occurrence. I have to be on guard. Mo Fei's gaze swept around the house. A kitchen knife? Too much might even turn me into Officer Su's case file. A wooden stick? Inconvenient to carry. And too conspicuous. Nowadays, things you can legitimately carry for self-defense that are both legal and reasonable are really not that many, Mo Fei thought. He pulled a box out from under the bed. Inside were some useless items, including magazines from a few years ago and plastic water cups. Mo Fei rummaged through and found what he was looking for. A rusted U-lock. Don't underestimate this U-lock. Though it looks ordinary, just a psychological comfort he used to hang on his electric bike back then, it's heavy and fits nicely in hand. The U-shaped handle felt just right as grip, and the lock head was solid metal. When swung, its lethality is not low at all. After rusting, it's practically a tetanus enchantment, doubling the lethality. The most crucial point is, this thing is not a control weapon. No modification needed, low barrier to use. Some weapons like sharpened screwdrivers, pens, flashy knuckle dusters, pepper spray, or even stun guns. Carrying these on you shows you are prepared if you retaliate and cause injury or death. In court, they might hold that against you. A U-lock doesn't have that concern. If someone tries to attack me, it's only reasonable that I grab a lock and KO them. You can't say I was prepared. This is perfect for self-defense. Mo Fei is satisfied. From now on, he goes to work carrying the lock, even though he doesn't even own a bicycle. After the e-bike battery that this lock used to guard was stolen, he couldn't afford to install a new one. It had already been towed to the scrapyard. Thinking of this, Ma Fei touched the U-lock. His expression momentarily slipped out of control. That trusty electric scooter that had been with him since college till graduation. He would be a sworn enemy of crime. On set, Ma Fei's scenes weren't as many as the lead actors. Often, he just needed to show his face, and that was it. Compared to the leads, his role was much easier, because a severed limb had been found at the film studio. Even though it was quickly resolved, the actors were all somewhat affected. Off their game, Director Wang's eyes nearly popped out in anger. Then he turned and saw the props team trembling, not daring to go near the storage room. He had no choice but to film exteriors first to lift everyone's spirits. This scene was a highway sequence. The protagonist's group drives to a deserted village. Along the way, they raise various flags and showcase their tangled romantic relationships. Ma Fei looked at the character relationships in the script, a tangled web of arrows. He felt a headache coming on. Cliché, but kind of fun. He let out a low chuckle, his entire face buried in the script, trying to sort out all the relationships in it. After reporting, Director Wang set up the camera by a usually quiet roadside. There weren't many road scenes they could wrap it up in a day or two if they pushed. This place was actually closer to Mo Fei's old neighborhood than the film studio. Mo Fei came riding a shared bike, carrying a U-lock. Simple as could be his role as the fifth male lead only had a few scenes. He was really just background filler on the edge. Good. Mo Fei was quite satisfied. The only downside was during meal times. The old man still watched him warily, as if afraid Mo Fei might steal the box lunches. Was he that kind of person? But the old man's stare was too intense. His plan to sneak a box lunch had failed. Mo Fei crouched by the roadside, eating, even though the road was closed and there were no cars. For safety's sake, it's better not to eat on the road. Be responsible for your own safety. There are still night scenes today. Cheer up, Director Wong glanced. Mo Fei stared at the boxed lunch and ate with full concentration. His table manners made him a bit uncertain. Is this boxed lunch really that delicious? Not far from this section of highway, someone was running unsteadily. It was obvious that person was in bad shape. One hand clutching his ribs, panting heavily, covered in dirt. Long hair disheveled and messy. At a distance of less than 1 kilometer, two men dressed as migrant workers carrying sticks were tracking the trail. One of them was cursing. You fucking have no brains. Just twitching a couple of times scared you that much. If such good goods have issues, how can we get rid of them? Another person retorted defiantly. It has to be sold before it dies. Even if it really dies at their hands, it won't matter much. But not making money is a loss for them. That merchandise's quality is really good. The one who spoke first licked his lips. A vicious glint flashed in his eyes. Find it and beat it again. Hurry up and contact the buyer. Damn, the educated ones sell for more. And they sure cause trouble, the one running ahead. The merchandise also understood that if it couldn't escape this time, being caught would definitely mean a bad end. But for 2 days, it had nothing to eat except a little water. Plus, it had been beaten. Its whole body was dizzy and vision blurry. Its legs felt like they were filled with lead. Each step was sustained only by willpower. By the roadside was a wasteland overgrown with weeds. The pursued merchandise could no longer tell direction. It could only move forward by instinct. If you pull the angle up to the sky, they could see the cargo. And the distance between the pursuers and the cargo was shrinking. Just a few dozen meters diagonally ahead of the cargo was the film crew. And in the shadows, a pair of eyes watched it all. Just as the two pursuers were about to catch sight of the cargo's figure, a scrawny figure leaped out from the weeds and slammed the cargo to the ground. This collision was unexpected, and it pressed on the wound. The cargo's vision went black from the pain, letting out a muffled grunt. A pair of rough hands groped brutally over the cargo's body several times. Then came a string of Chinese curses. Fucking hell, it's a man. A man wearing long hair? Damn faggot, sick freak. The sudden attacker cursed and raised his woodworking axe, ready to finish off what he saw as a pervert. The pursuers from behind arrived as well. Seeing this unexpected wildcard appear, both sides were thrown into suspicion and uncertainty. The unlucky guy pinned to the ground gritted his teeth and forced out a sentence. Bro, save me. That cry was like a spark that ignited the powder keg. The two pursuers assumed the man holding the axe was his brother. The man with the axe thought the two with sticks were his brother. The atmosphere changed in an instant. The man with the axe, though slight in build, exuded an aura of fierce, bloodthirsty aggression. Without a word, he raised his axe and charged at the two men. Though those two were used to fighting, brawling, and trafficking people, they had never faced someone who went straight for the kill. Dodging and swinging their sticks, they tried to subdue him. The axe wielder was clearly a desperado. He held the axe in one hand and grabbed one of the sticks with the other. Ignoring the other, he first chased the one whose stick he had seized. A few swings of the axe drew blood. The other man swung his stick, hitting on the head several times. He turned around and swung his axe again with a backhand blow. The smell of blood immediately spread. The unlucky guy on the ground gasped for breath twice. He turned over to try to run, but the man with the axe noticed. His chopping movements became faster. He wanted to kill these two first, then send that sissy freak down to reunite them. A gust of wind blew, and Mo Fei, still waiting for his scene, sniffed. He looked at the lunchbox uncle with slight confusion. The uncle warily pressed down on the food cart. Mo Fei walked straight over, asked, "Is our food made here?" "You wish. Made on the spot." "Ah." The lunchbox uncle was dismissive of Mo Fei. "We all order the meals, put them in warmers, and deliver them here. Be thankful to Director Wong that you get hot food. Not made here." Mo Fei rubbed his chin. "So the chicken for the chicken meat wasn't killed here either, huh?" The disdain on the boxed lunch grandpa's face grew more pronounced. "Fresh kill? Go ahead, then. With such a picky eater, who has time to cater to you?" Mo Fei completely ignored him. He cast his gaze beyond the highway. Since it wasn't the smell of chicken blood from the box lunch, then where was this scent of blood coming from? Mo Fei's reason told him not to meddle. A slit was the best example. It would bring bad luck with money, but he simply couldn't control his feet. Mo Fei casually picked up the U-lock from the shared bicycle's basket and walked off. The assistant director saw Mo Fei climb over the highway railing and head into the wasteland. He raised his voice and asked, "Xiao Mo, where are you going?" Mo Fei didn't even turn his head. Poop. The assistant director was taken aback. Poop? With a lock? In the wasteland? The two people had already fallen to the ground without moving. The thin, small man, holding a dripping axe, quickly chased after the direction of his prey. After seeing the prey's back, a crazy grin spread across his lips. The woodworking axe was raised high. Hearing the noise behind him, the long-haired man's eyes showed despair. But he still didn't turn back. Moving forward, Ma Fei appeared in front of the two at that moment. Following the strange noise, he pushed aside the weeds and discovered this bizarre pair. A pretty girl fleeing for her life, and someone trying to chop with an axe. The axe was still dripping blood. Ma Fei's brain overloaded. Reason told him he should turn and run right away and call for help. But his hands honestly started fumbling for his phone, unlocking it, and taking photos in one smooth motion. He had never seen such a scene. Take a photo as a souvenir first. The flash awakened both people's rationality. The pretty girl directly threw herself behind Ma Fei. In a hoarse voice, she explained the situation concisely. "He's a murderer. Run." Ma Fei gave a little toss to the U-lock in his hand. A cold laugh. What a coincidence. The two of them automatically filled in the next line in their minds. Same here. The axe wielder looked at Ma Fei's stance and demeanor. Indeed, it did resemble his own. You couldn't have that without having stabbed a few people to death. Subconsciously, he became somewhat wary. Ma Fei grabbed the pretty girl's hand, turned around, and ran. While running, he shouted, "Director Wong, help! There's a snake. Everyone come quick!" The pretty girl hadn't reacted at all. She was forcibly dragged over 10 meters away. The axe wielder almost had a question mark written on his face. What the hell is this situation? Startled by the shout, Director Wong and the others were not only confused but also furious. Damn it, is there no end to this? First, severed limbs at the film set. Now snakes on the roadside location. The crew members all fixed their eyes on Director Wong. Director Wong waved his hand. "Go take care of it." A few burly men who weren't afraid of snakes nodded. Picking up some handy tools, they headed toward Ma Fei. When the axe wielder realized and tried to chase, Ma Fei was almost within sight of the crew. He wanted to just hack them all down, but stamina was an issue. He could only glare hatefully in Ma Fei's direction, then turned and disappeared into the wasteland in the opposite direction. The men, holding wooden crates and folding stools ready to beat the snake, saw Ma Fei pulling a long-haired girl out of the wasteland. They were all dumbfounded. "What's going on? You yelled there was a snake, and you come out holding a girl? Is she by Sujin or something?" Ma Fei spotted the crowd, feeling that there was strength in numbers. He stopped and was about to speak, when the girl by his side suddenly went limp and fainted. Ma Fei instinctively caught her. The moment he touched the muscles, they fell off. Taking a closer look, there was an Adam's apple. A man, and a strikingly handsome one at that. Mo Fei's brain short-circuited once again. The worker holding the tool saw no reaction from him. Urged him, "Teacher Mo, what's going on?" Mo Fei's mouth opened. He realized he had no idea either. The only one who knew had already fainted. He could only describe what he had seen. "Just now, someone raised an axe trying to chop me. I ran into him, and then you luckless guy, shouted for help about a snake, right?" The worker's expression shifted, though there was nothing wrong with the move itself. Calling for help should prioritize effectiveness. They couldn't help feeling a bit annoyed. If it weren't inconvenient now, those wooden crates and folding stools would have probably been aimed at Mo Fei's head. Mo Fei felt a chill down his back. A bit uneasy, but standing around like this wasn't going to solve anything. He hoisted the unconscious stranger up a bit in his arms, suggesting, "Maybe we should call the police first." Call the police again? Director Wong really felt this production was cursed. First day of shooting, and they called the police. Now, they've changed locations, and they still have to call the police. Looking at the unconscious person laid out on the camp bed, he pinched his nose and gave in, "Fine, call them. It's just that the actors stumbled upon someone attempting murder. Better than finding a dead body." Mo Fei nodded and promptly called Officer Xiao Su. Officer Xiao Su had grown so used to receiving their calls that it no longer surprised him. He said he'd be there as soon as possible. After hanging up, Mo Fei also called an ambulance. After all, there was still an injured person. While waiting, Mo Fei stood up again and headed toward the wasteland. Director Wong quickly spoke up. "Where are you going?" "I. Gonna check things out." Mo Fei pointed toward the wasteland. "We found a guy, but we still haven't found the source of that bloody smell." Curiosity was eating him alive. That axe-wielding lunatic is still nearby. "Do you have a death wish?" Director Wong felt like his head was about to explode. After this incident, everyone was afraid for their own safety and huddled together for comfort. Even if they needed to use the bathroom, they held it in. They were terrified of running into the guy Mo Fei had mentioned who was slashing people. But him, with his reckless courage, he dared to go out alone. Don't you know that in horror movies, anyone who goes off alone never ends well? Director Wong was furious. He wanted to crack open Mo Fei's head to see if there was anything inside. Mo Fei gave a smile. "Hey, so we can go together. If we go together, he can't do anything to us. Otherwise, why do movies always have characters split up?" Director Wong was speechless. He nodded with a fake smile. "Good, very good. Anyone willing to go with him, raise your hand." All was silent. A gust of wind blew by, adding to the desolate atmosphere. Mo Fei hugged his U-shaped block, sat obediently on the wooden crate. A group going out meant catching people. But going out alone? That's a different story. He knew the highway was remote. Police car and ambulance arrived one after another. The cops who showed up were old acquaintances. Officer Xiao, Su, and Officer Tang. Except there were two unfamiliar faces Mo Fei didn't recognize. Officer Tang glanced at the unconscious man, waved for Officer Xiao, Su to go with the ambulance, and stood before Mo Fei to question him. "We meet again, Mr. Mo." Mo Fei gave a reserved smile. "I didn't want this either, to be fair. Don't want to call the cops for no reason when they're living just fine. If there's a way to get rid of this damn passive skill, Mo Fei would pay any price." Officer Tang just smiled at Mo Fei's words, without offering an opinion. "I heard you found a man this time. Montauk Fine Nutted, right there in the wasteland by the road, and another guy trying to swing an axe." As he said this, he pulled out his phone, opened the photo album, and pointed it out to Officer Tang. "It's him." Most of the screen was blocked by weeds and the long-haired man, but the face of the person holding the axe was still mostly captured. Officer Tang stared at the screen for a long time without saying a word. In the end, he couldn't help it anymore. He asked him, "Your first reaction when you saw this scene was to take a photo?" Ma Fei gave a shy smile. "Never seen it before." Officer Tang looked at this young man with a gloomy smile, his gaze cold, yet his words sounded like something you'd say while acting spoiled. He swallowed hard. This scene, even in his 10-plus years as a cop, he'd never seen anything like it. "Send me that photo." Officer Tang pointed at his phone. "If it's convenient, take me to point out the location." Ma Fei turned his head to look at Director Wong. Currently on set, he still had to get approval from the higher-ups to leave. Director Wong's face darkened like the bottom of a pot. He waved his hand as if shooing away a fly. "Go ahead." Li Sangyu, who had come along with Officer Tang, also stepped forward 2 paces. "I'm going along too." When Mo Fei reported the case, Li Sangyu was looking up information with Officer Xiao Su and the others. Upon hearing that someone had attacked the crowd with an axe, he immediately said he'd join the dispatch. He didn't say much along the way. Instead, he just watched from the side as Officer Tang handled the case. He didn't interfere too much. With 2 officers by his side, Mo Fei felt a surge of safety. He took the lead and plunged into the weeds. The 3 of them stopped when they reached the spot where Mo Fei had seen the axe-wielding man attack. Mo Fei pointed to where the man had stood earlier. "There, that guy was standing right there. There's blood on the ground too." "Blood?" Officer Tang frowned. Li Sangyu then stepped past him, crouched down beside the bloodstain, observed for a moment before speaking. "The blood is very fresh. That person is injured." The last sentence was directed at Mo Fei. Mo Fei shook his head. It dripped from his axe. Li Sangyu's expression changed instantly. He said, "Stand still," and then walked in the direction where the grass was trampled. Mo Fei had now passed the point of being most curious about the smell of blood. What he wanted to know more now was, "Officer Tang, is this your superior?" Mo Fei leaned closer to Officer Tang and asked in a low voice. For an ordinary person speaking like this, would be a whisper. But when Mo Fei approached Officer Tang like this, all of Officer Tang's crime-fighting radar was blaring. He suppressed his urge to handcuff Mo Fei, put on a polite smile, and imitating Mo Fei, leaned close to his ear, then said loudly, "You can ask openly." Hiss. Mo Fei twisted his face and rubbed his ear. His mind was buzzing. Officer Tang let out a breath. Then he said, "This is my senior." Oh. Montauk Fai nodded hastily. No wonder he looks so formidable. Asami gave a sincere thumbs up. Praising the veteran clearly made him happier than praising Officer Tang himself. But seeing that Ma Fei looked nothing like someone who had never committed a crime, Officer Tang's curled lips turned into a stiff smile. At that moment, the flattered party walked out of the weeds with a grave expression. "Report to the squad. There are 2 bodies here." The smile on Officer Tang's face vanished completely. The case escalated to a new level. Director Wong's face grew even darker. Although the case didn't happen within the crew, it was only a few hundred meters away. Plus, there was no one else nearby, making the entire crew the closest witnesses. They were bound to be questioned. The others, unaware of the details, thought the police were just asking about the axe-wielding assailant. But Director Wong, who had lived most of his life, he knew all too well the differences between cops from decades ago and today's cops. It was clearly not the protocol for handling an assault case. He also understood that even if you knew something, you couldn't call it out. As long as they kept up the facade, the crew wouldn't panic either. If they tore it open, this group would be done for. Director Wong got angrier the more he thought about it. Glaring straight at Mo Fei, who was mingling with the cops, he realized now, this guy was a jinx. On his first day in the crew, he found this severed limb. And now, him crawling through the grass had stirred up all this trouble. Before, he was worried about actors running off and had to lock them in with contracts. Now, if he kicked Mo Fei out, he'd have to pay a penalty. Director Wong was seething inside. He was from Zijing, and old-timers from Zijing were superstitious. This Mo Fei was bad luck for the crew. Mo Fei still had no idea he'd unknowingly revealed his jinx status. He was seriously cooperating with the police investigation, as the first person to discover it. Even someone who had greeted the axe-wielding man face to face. The officers paid him no small amount of attention, and the photo in Mo Fei's phone was also immediately copied. Mo Fei's mind hadn't quite processed what was happening. Before he knew it, he was sitting in a familiar spot. He calculated and felt that the things he encountered after changing the card were even more troublesome than before. Black card, Ripper. Truly black. This time, the officer in charge of the interview was not the one he had seen before. Instead, it was Li Tsangyu and another unfamiliar officer. During the back-and-forth questioning, Mo Fei truthfully recounted what he had seen earlier. Li Tsangyu took out a stack of photos and spread them on the table. Asked Mo Fei, "The person you saw, what kind of axe was he holding? Can you identify it?" The photo Mo Fei took had no composition at all. The axe-wielding man's raised hand was completely out of frame. Couldn't see anything. To confirm the weapon, they could only rely on Mo Fei's memory. After he leaned in to look at the pile of various axe photos, he pointed at one of them and said, "Just like this, but a bit smaller." Li Tsangyu pointed at the photo and asked, "Are you sure?" Ma Fei nodded affirmatively. "I have 2010 vision. Even if there were chunks of meat hanging off that axe, I'd still recognize it." Li Tsangyu picked up the photo and took a look. A single-edge carpenter's axe, pretty much the same as the weapon they had previously deduced. He had asked enough questions. Li Tsangyu stood up to thank Ma Fei. "Thank you very much for your support in our case, Mr. Mo. Please be careful when traveling recently. Since you took a photo of the suspect, he may retaliate against you. If you notice anything unusual, notify us immediately." Ma Fei was taken aback for a moment. He asked back, "Officer, does that mean this person is considered a wanted criminal?" Li Tsangyu took a few seconds to process, then nodded with slight hesitation. "Yes, we have an image. There's suspects and victims. It's just that it hasn't been officially released yet." Mo Fei's face lit up with a huge smile. As for the bounty amount, Li Tsangyu never revealed how much it was. Mo Fei shamelessly mooched a dinner at the police station. He had to admit that the police station cafeteria food was far better than the crew's box lunches. It had that wok hei flavor, a balanced mix of meat and vegetables and even fruit. And this time, not only was his dinner covered, but someone even offered to drive him home. Officer Xiao Su sat in the driver's seat, fastening his seatbelt, and asked, "Where do you live?" Mo Fei stood outside the passenger door. A bit conflicted, being able to avoid walking home was a good thing. Getting a ride was even better. But Officer Xiao Su's expression, Mo Fei asked sincerely, "Buddy, is the police station busy lately?" Officer Xiao Su placed his hands on the steering wheel, his face full of helplessness. "Buddy, I'm the only one free right now. Or do you want to take a taxi back?" "Taking a taxi is fine," Mo Fei asked cautiously. "Can the fare be reimbursed?" Officer Xiao Su rolled his eyes. "Get in." Mo Fei climbed into the car and automatically buckled his seatbelt. "I live in an old neighborhood near the outskirts. I'll guide you there." As the car started and drove out of the police station, Mo Fei let out a sigh of relief. Officer Xiao Su noticed his expression and teased, "What's wrong? Feeling guilty and scared after doing something bad?" "Something bad?" Mo Fei thought for a moment. "I haven't done anything yet, and it's always the bad stuff that finds me. I can barely dodge it." Officer Xiao Su nodded in agreement at that. "Though I've only been on duty here for a short time, it's really rare to see such a familiar face like yours. With how often you show up, and you're neither a staff member nor a suspect. That's quite rare." Mo Fei savored his words. He could hardly tell whether the other was expressing emotion or sarcasm. "Actually, I didn't want this either." Mo Fei recalled the days of the past, realizing that he had actually gotten used to running to the police station every few days. He couldn't help clicking his tongue. Habits are truly terrifying. Officer Little Sue glanced at him and laughed. "If one day you stay away for too long, I would ask you what happened. That way, I won't have to worry about dying alone at home with no one to claim my body." Montauk Fei cheered. Officer Little Sue, for some reason, this person wasn't bad looking, nor did he seem mentally deficient, but his words were always hard to take. "Hey, by the way," Mo Fei looked at the male and female pedestrians on the street. Suddenly remembered something. "That person we rescued today, is he okay?" Officer Little Sue hesitated for a moment. Since Mo Fei was also somewhat in the know, and he was the one who found the person, she eased up and said, "No major issues. Just some dehydration and external injuries. A cracked rib, and the sudden relaxation after extreme mental tension. After receiving treatment, there won't be any major problems." "That's good." Mo Fei also let out a sigh of relief. Although that person had shocked him twice, it wasn't his fault that he was being hunted. As long as he's okay. The two chatted. Mo Fei's phone vibrated. He glanced at it and saw it was an unsaved number. When he answered, it was a strange woman's voice.